Sebastian held the bouquet in both hands, flowers trembling slightly. Mariana stood 3 feet away, her arms folded, her uniform pressed sharper than his was torn. The hallway had gone quiet. Other students crowded close. Teachers had slowed their walking, everyone waiting to see what happened next. "Did you really think," Mariana said, her voice carrying to every corner of the space, "that someone like me would ever love someone like you?" She didn't smile. "That would have been kinder." Laughter erupted. Fingers pointed at his ripped sleeves, his broken shoes, the way he stood as though he belonged anywhere near her world. Sebastian didn't move. "I love you," he said simply. "That's real." Mariana tilted her head, as if looking at something barely worth understanding. "The poor stay with the poor," she said. The words fell like a closing door. Sebastian held the flowers a moment longer. One thorn pricked his thumb. A drop of blood slid down the stem. No one saw it except the old janitor sweeping near the entrance. His broom stopped mid-stroke, watching the boy's face. Mariana turned away. "That's over," she said to her friends, and the crowd began to dissolve. But as Sebastian lowered the flowers, one question hung in the air where she had been standing. If that was over, then what was he supposed to become? The crowd took its noise with it, and the corridor emptied the way a room empties after something has been broken in it. Sebastian stood where he had stood, holding flowers that had cost him 14 days. The bell rang. He didn't move for it. Somewhere down the hall, a door closed on a classroom full of people who would be talking about him inside of 90 seconds. He looked down at the bouquet. The paper had crushed where his hands had tightened. One daisy had bent at the neck and hung there, still attached, not yet dead. He walked to the trash bin near the stairwell and held them over it. Not there. The janitor was leaning on his broom. 60-odd years, gray at the temples, a work shirt washed so many times the navy had gone the color of weather. His name tag said Ivan Perez, but nobody in that school had called him anything but Chewy in 22 years. "They're already dead," Sebastian said. "They're already cut," Chewy said. "That's not the same thing. She didn't want them. I know. I was sweeping." The old man came closer, unhurried, the broom trailing. "Give them here." Sebastian gave them here. Chewy turned the bouquet in his hands like a man checking fruit. He straightened the bent daisy. He tore off the crushed part of the paper and folded a new edge, twice, the way the woman at the stall had done. 40 pesos, he said. "How do you know that?" "Because I know what the stall on Hidalgo charges. And I know what a boy who works the market lot earns in 2 weeks. He held the flowers back out. "Sit down, Micho. My knees don't like standing still." They sat on the low wall by the cleaning closet, where the tile was cold and the light came in sideways. Sebastian's thumb had stopped bleeding. He looked at the small dark line of it anyway. "Everybody saw," he said. "Yes." "Everybody heard." "Yes." Cooey set the broom across his knees. "And in 3 weeks they'll be laughing at somebody else, because that's the only thing that kind of laughing knows how to do. It has to move. It can't stay anywhere." He glanced sideways. "You're not going to give me the honor of asking the obvious question?" "What question?" "Whether she was right." The boy's jaw moved. "She was right about the shoes." "She was right about the shoes," Chewy agreed. "That's all she was right about, and she said it like it was the whole world." Down the corridor, a mop bucket stood where he had left it, water going gray. "Let me tell you something," the old man said. "I've been cleaning this school since before your mother worked at the tortilleria. In 22 years I have picked up more diamonds off this floor than you would believe. Earrings, bracelets, a ring once, this big." He made a shape with his fingers. "You know what happens? The girl doesn't even notice it fell. Comes back a week later. Doesn't cry. Doesn't look. Because it wasn't hers, mijo, it was her father's. And a thing that isn't yours can't hurt you when it's gone. What's that supposed to mean for me? It means you cried over 40 pesos and she didn't cry over any of it." Chewy nodded at the flowers. "Which one of you owns something?" Sebastian didn't answer. "Listen to me, because I'm only going to say it in the pretty way once." The old man tapped the wall twice with one knuckle. "When love is sincere and pure, its light outshines the brightest diamond. You understand me? Not equals it. Outshines it. She has the brightest thing in this school hanging around her neck, and she was standing 3 feet from something brighter and couldn't see it." The boy looked at his hands. "That doesn't fix anything," he said. "No," Chewy said. "It just means you were never the poor one." He picked up his broom and stood, and his knees made the noise old knees make, and he went back to the water going gray in the bucket. The next afternoon Sebastian came out the back gate at 4 and found the old man waiting with a plastic bag. "Sit. I have to be at the market by 5. "You had to be at the market by 5. Sit." He sat on the step. Chewy crouched in front of him with a sound of effort and took the boy's left foot in his hand like a farrier. and Sebastian was too surprised to pull it back. The sole came away from the upper when Chewy lifted it. The fishing line had rotted through. The old man said. Out of the plastic bag came shoes. Black, not new. Scuffed at the toe and worn honest at the heel, but whole, and polished that morning by somebody who had taken the trouble. They were my son's, Chewy said. He's a grown man in Monterey with a foot 2 sizes past this. They've been in a box for 11 years being useless. He set them down on the step. Try. Sebastian didn't reach for them. I can't pay you. Did I say a price? That's worse. Chewy laughed at that. A real one, from the chest. Good, he said. Good, that's the right answer. So we'll do it the other way. He sat down heavily on the step beside him. The school pays me for the corridors, the courtyard, the 2 bathrooms and the gym. 4 hours a day, 5 days. My knees do about 2 hours of that well and 2 hours badly. He rubbed one of them, not for sympathy, just because it hurt. You come at 4. You take the courtyard and the gym. I pay you out of what I get, and I don't tell the office, and you don't tell your friends. How much? Enough that you stop counting in weeks. Sebastian sat with that. Down in the courtyard, somebody's radio was playing badly. The light had gone amber across the basketball lines. Why, he said. Because I watched you hold those flowers for 11 seconds after she was done with you, Chewy said. And a boy who can do that can do almost anything, if somebody gets to him before the world does. He stood. Also, my knees. Don't make it romantic. Sebastian put on the shoes. They fit. That was the thing he would remember for the next 18 years. That they fit. The first time, with no stitching and no folding of the heel, as though somebody had been keeping them for exactly him. He stood up in them. Thank you, he said. Thank you. Welcome to the team, Chewy said. It took him 4 days to walk back into that corridor with his head level, and on the 4th day Mariana was standing exactly where she had been standing, because people like her never have to move. Jose Daniel saw him first. Hey, he's back! The boy said it loud enough to be a service to the room. Where's the flowers, Lucer? Couldn't afford the second date? Laughter. Smaller this time, but enough. Sebastian walked past them. That was going to be the whole of it. He had decided in bed the night before that it was going to be the whole of it. Then Mariana spoke. New shoes. She looked down at them, then up, with a small, pleasant expression. Did somebody die? He stopped. They were a gift. From who? A friend. Ah. She unwrapped the lollipop she had been carrying for 4 days and put it in her mouth, and her friends waited, and she took her time. That's the sad part, you know. It isn't the money. My mother says it, and I never understood it until you and your flowers. She said it lightly, the way people quote scripture they've never once tested. Poor people give each other things. That's all they do. They pass the same nothing around in a circle and call it love. Is that yours or hers? Something in her face flickered. Excuse me? The line, Sebastian said. Is that yours or is it your mother's? The corridor went interested. Careful, Jose Daniel said. Sebastian didn't look at him. He looked at her, and he was very calm. And later he would understand that the calm had frightened her more than anything else could have. You said the poor stay with the poor, he said. I said it because it's true. Then I'm going to be rich. The laugh that came out of the group behind her was the loudest sound the corridor had made all week. Somebody repeated it in a high mocking voice. Somebody said something about his father. Somebody said the word janitor like it was an illness. He waited for all of it to finish. He had learned in 4 days that laughter runs out of breath if you let it. You think that's funny, he said. I think it's the saddest thing I've ever heard in my life, Mariana said. Then remember it. Remember what? This, today, the date. He said it plainly. No heat in it at all. Because you're going to see me again. And when you do, you're going to be in a room where somebody needs something from me. And I will be rich, Mariana. I will be. He walked out through the arch into the courtyard. And a girl who had been standing at the lockers the entire time, holding her books against her chest, turned around and said, into the silence they'd left behind, You're all pathetic. Elena Rutia was 15 years old, 4'11", and had not spoken in that corridor once all year. Nobody asked you, Jose Daniel said. Nobody asked him either. She was shaking. Everyone could see she was shaking. She did it anyway. He brought her flowers. That's the crime. He brought her flowers. She looked at Mariana with an expression too old for her face. You'll be telling that story about yourself when you're 40, and you'll still think it makes you sound good. Then she walked out after him, and the crowd she left didn't laugh exactly. It couldn't decide what to do. She caught him by the water tanks behind the gym. You didn't have to do that, he said. I know. They'll turn it on you. They already have. Since 3rd grade. She shrugged one shoulder, and the shrug cost her something. I have a system. He looked at her properly then, maybe for the first time. The practical shoes, the books held like armor, the way she stood square instead of pretty. "Wait here." "Why?" "Wait here." He came back 11 minutes later with 3 daisies, white ones. He'd taken them off the bush by the teacher's lot, and one of them still had a green ant walking the length of it. He held them out. "These are stolen," Elena said. "They're borrowed. The bush doesn't need them." She took them. She looked at the ant. She did not say thank you, because she was busy trying to arrange her face. "Can I ask you something serious?" Sebastian said. "That depends. When I'm a successful man." He said it exactly like that, with no hedging. At 15, behind a gym, in a dead man's son's shoes. "Would you want to be my partner?" Elena Rutia looked up at him. "Yes," she said. She would keep the daisies pressed inside a geography textbook for the next 19 years, and never once tell him. He worked the courtyard and the gym for 2 years, and the market lot for 4. At 19, he was moving pallets for a produce distributor, and noticing what nobody around him noticed, that a third of the fruit rotted between the truck and the shelf, and that everyone had decided this was weather instead of a problem. At 22, he had a refrigerated van and 1 route. At 24, he had 6 vans and a girl from his old school doing the invoicing on a laptop she'd bought second-hand, who had answered his message within 4 minutes and had never once, in 10 years, asked him for a raise. At 28, there was a warehouse with his name over the door. At 31, the name went up on a building instead. Elena built the cold chain system that made the whole thing possible, and never signed her name to it. Chai left the school with a pension the size of a joke, and became the man who drove Sebastian to meetings, and who waited outside them, and who was in the room more often than anyone in that company understood. And on a Friday in the spring of Sebastian Lucero's 35th year, a man in a very good suit came up to the 11th floor with a folder under his arm. "Ricardo Salinas Vega," he said, "hand out. Too early, too long. Listen, this is going to sound like flattery, but I've been following what you built for 2 years. 2 years. It's the only real thing in this city." "Sit down," Sebastian said. Elena was already sitting, tablet on her knee, saying nothing. Ricardo talked for 11 minutes without being asked a question. He talked about synergy, and about his father's company, and about a distribution footprint across 4 states, and he checked his phone twice while he was doing it, and both times he turned it face down instead of silencing it. Elena watched him do that. "The numbers," Sebastian said. "Right here." "Right here." The folder came open too fast. "Margins on page 4. And I'll be honest with you, the reason I'm coming to you personally instead of sending my people, I want this closed. Today, if we can. I've got a board that moves like a glacier, and I'd rather hand them a done thing. Today. Today, tomorrow, before the weekend." He laughed. It arrived a half-second late. "I'm a romantic about business." Sebastian turned page 4 toward Elena, without looking away from Ricardo. She read for perhaps 40 seconds. "They're good numbers," she said. "They're very good numbers," Ricardo said. "They're good numbers," Elena repeated. And something in the repetition was not agreement, and only one man in that room heard it. Sebastian closed the folder and put his hand flat on top of it. "Since the numbers look good," he said, "I'd rather review it with my whole team. If it suits you, Monday we give you an answer." The pause was very short, almost nothing. A man's face doing a fast repair. "Monday," Ricardo said. "Perfect, perfect, Monday." He shook hands twice on the way out, and in the elevator he called someone and said the word Monday, in a voice that had no romance in it at all. Chewy drove him down to the garage, because Chewy drove everyone, and because nobody ever counted the driver. The car came back up around 6 with the old man in it and the folder photographed on his phone, which Sebastian had not asked him to do and had long ago stopped asking him not to do. "You want the short version or the true one?" Chewy said, pulling into traffic. "The true one. His name isn't on his own company anymore." The old man drove the way he swept, steady and without hurry. "I called Beto. Beto's nephew does filings at the registry. There's a lien on the warehouses in Querétaro dated 8 weeks ago, and the page 4 numbers are the numbers from before the lien. He didn't lie in the folder, mijo. He just gave you a photograph of a house that already burned." Sebastian sat with the city going past. "He wanted it signed today. He needs it signed before Monday," Chawi said. "Monday is when your people would look. Monday is when it stops working." He glanced in the mirror. "The truth is, you shouldn't have signed. I hope you didn't." "I didn't." "Good, Chawi." Sebastian leaned forward. "No, thank you. There's no doubt you're the best employee I have, which is why I want you to be my partner too." The old man snorted. I'm 71. Then it's overdue. They drove 4 blocks in silence, and at the light Choi said quietly, "Your father would have liked this car." Later that night, in an office with the lights off on the floor below, and the whole city laid out orange beneath them, Chewy stood in the doorway, with his coat over his arm. "You've been strange for a week," he said. "I've been busy. You've been strange." Sebastian opened the second drawer of his desk and took out a flat box, and set it on the wood between them, and opened it. The necklace was a thin gold chain with a single stone, and the stone was small, deliberately, almost stubbornly small. Kui whistled low. "Right now my heart belongs to somebody else," Sebastian said. "Look, I'm going to show you something." He turned the box around. "It's for Elena. I know it's for Elena. I've known it was for Elena since 2011. The old man came in and looked at it properly. "Why is the stone so small? You could buy a rock the size of my thumb." "Because she'd hate that." He almost smiled. "She'd wear it once to be polite and put it in a drawer. This one she'd wear on a Tuesday. Then give it to her, Monday. After the deal's dead. I don't want it landing in the same week as business." Chewy looked at him for a long moment. "Monday," he said. "You're very sure of Mondays, Mijo." The phone rang at 9:40 that same night. "Sebastian. Ricardo, look. Forget the folder for a second. Forget all of it." The voice had a party behind it that sounded like one man and a television. "I found out something today that I cannot get over. My wife went to your school. Same year, she says. She remembers you." "Does she? Come to dinner. Saturday. My house. Nothing formal. No business. Well, a laugh. Some business. But mostly the ridiculousness of the world, no? The 3 of us in the same little school. And look where we all ended up." Sebastian looked at the ceiling for exactly as long as it took to decide something. "Of course," he said. "I'll come." He put the phone face up on the desk and left it there. Elena knocked on his door at 8 the following morning, holding one sheet of paper, and she had been crying, and she had fixed it, and she had not fixed it well enough. "I need 10 minutes, she said. "Sit. I'd rather stand." She put the paper on the desk and stepped back from it like it was hot. "That's 30 days. I'll close out the Baggio contracts and finish the handover documents for the cold chain. And I've written down everything that only lives in my head, which took me most of last night." He didn't touch the page. "Why?" "I've had an offer." "From who?" "That's not relevant." "Elena." "It isn't relevant, Sebastian." Her voice cracked in the middle of it, and she hated that. He could see her hating it. "You don't get to cross-examine me. I've worked here for 11 years, and I've never once asked you for anything, and I'm asking for this." He stood up. "Tell me what I did." "Nothing." She laughed, and it was awful. You did nothing. You have never done one single thing wrong to me. That's the whole problem, do you understand? If you'd been careless with me, I could have hated you and left years ago, and had a life." The room was very quiet. "You're going to that man's house tomorrow," she said. "It's a dinner. His wife is Mariana Lucero." Sebastian said nothing. "I looked her up in 4 seconds, because that is my job. And you didn't look, because you don't want to know yet." She wiped her face with the back of her wrist, angrily, efficiently. "I have watched you build all of this out of one afternoon in a corridor when you were 15 years old. And I am not going to stand in this office and watch her walk back into it. Elena, I'm grateful for the time together and for the trust." She was already at the door. "But my resignation is not negotiable." The door closed. He stood there for a while. Then he sat down and picked up the paper and read it twice, and put it in the drawer where the box was. And the 2 things lay next to each other in the dark. Across the city, in a bedroom the size of the house Sebastian grew up in, Ricardo Salinas dropped a dress on the bed. That one. Mariana looked at it. At 35, she was still the most beautiful woman in most rooms she entered, and she had learned exactly how much that was worth, which was less every year. "It's cold on Saturday, so be cold." He was on his phone. He was always on his phone. "Do the hair the way you did for the Herrera thing, Ricardo." "What is this dinner?" He put the phone down and crossed the room and took her chin in his hand almost gently. "This dinner," he said, "is 11 million pesos, and whether we keep the house." "Then let me sit at the table and say nothing, like always." "You'll do more than that." She went still under his hand. "What does that mean?" "It means he's a man who came from nothing and got everything. And men like that only ever want one thing they couldn't have when they were poor." He let go of her. "And apparently, my love, that thing was you. That was 18 years ago. You better do your job, please." He said it smiling. That was the part she never got used to, the smiling. Then, softer, worse. If we want Sebastian to sign the contract, you have to look spectacular, my love. He went out. She sat down on the end of the bed in a house with 14 rooms, and she thought about her mother's kitchen, and her mother's voice saying, find one with money. Mija, love is what poor people eat instead of dinner. And she put her hands flat on her knees to stop them, and sat there until the light changed. He arrived at 8 with wine he'd bought himself. The house did everything houses like that do. Ricardo talked in the doorway for 2 minutes about the architect. There was a girl in uniform who took the coat and did not look up. Mariana came down the stairs in silver. Sebastian watched her come and felt precisely one thing, and was surprised by how quiet it was. No drop, no lift, nothing at all like the 18 years of rehearsal. He felt the way a man feels passing a school he used to attend. Mariana, he said, how long has it been? She smiled the smile. A long time since we've seen each other. 18 years. That can't be right. It's right. They ate. Ricardo did the talking, and the talking was excellent, and at intervals he touched his wife's arm and said things like, she's told me all about you, and she remembers everything, and Mariana agreed, with a small movement of her head, and her wine glass did not go down more than a centimeter all evening. Do you remember? Ricardo said. She told me you brought her flowers? I remember. In front of everyone. He was delighted. God, the courage. At what? 15? 15. And she turned you down flat. He laughed and looked at his wife with something that was not affection. Tell him what you said. She won't tell me what she said. Mariana looked at her plate. I don't remember what I said, she said. Sebastian set his fork down. You don't? No. That's a mercy, he said. For one of us. And he turned to Ricardo and asked him about the Querétaro warehouses, and watched a man's hand stop for a quarter of a second on the stem of his glass. After the plates went, Ricardo sent his wife to see about the coffee, and leaned in with the folder he had been carrying since the door. Let me be a vulgar man for 1 minute. Go ahead. Monday is a long way away. It's 2 days. For me, it's a long way away. The laugh had left entirely now. He turned the folder around and put a pen on top of it, and the pen was the loudest thing in that dining room. Sign it tonight, and I'll make it worth more to you than the margins. How? Ricardo glanced at the doorway where his wife had gone. You wanted her, he said, when you had nothing. Sebastian did not move. Say that again. Don't make me be a poet about it. You're 40 and I'm 40, and we both know what a man carries. He tapped the folder twice. If you sign the contract, I can lend you my wife for 1 night. Tonight, upstairs. You could have the woman you desire. From the kitchen doorway, very faintly, a cup touched a saucer. And her? Sebastian said. She's more than in agreement. Ricardo waved a hand, generous, revolted by the question. We're modern people. The clock in the hall did the thing clocks do. All right, Sebastian said. He stood up. He did not touch the pen. The bedroom was cold and enormous, and had somebody's idea of art on the wall. Mariana came in behind him and closed the door and stood with her back against it, and she had taken her earrings off, which he understood was a decision she had made on the stairs. You can sit, she said. Or not. He sat in the chair by the window and folded his hands and looked at her. Take your time, he said. That's not. She stopped, started again. Would you turn the lamp down? No. Why not? Because I want you to be able to see the room, he said. She began to cry then, badly, without any of the arrangement she had been managing all night. It's a trap, she said. I know. You don't know. You don't. She pressed the heels of her hands against her eyes. The numbers are lies. The Querétaro warehouses aren't his anymore. There's a lien. I heard him on the phone in February, and he doesn't know I heard. The contract, the signature, all of it is forced. All of it. He needs it tonight, because on Monday your people will look, and there'll be nothing there. She was shaking now the way Elena had once shaken in a corridor. And I'm the last thing he had left to sell. Yes, Sebastian said. She looked up. You knew. Since Thursday. Then why did you come? Because I wanted to hear whether you'd say it out loud. He didn't raise his voice at all. You could have let me sign. You'd have kept the house. I know. You said it anyway. She sat down on the floor, in that dress, with her back against the door, which is not a thing that woman had done in 20 years. Do you want me? She said. Because if you do, it's fine. It's honestly fine. It's the only thing I've been for 11 years, and at least you'd be, her mouth twisted, at least you'd be somebody who once thought I was worth 40 pesos. Mariana. What? My heart right now belongs to somebody else." He said it gently, and it was the gentleness that finished her. "Her name is Elena Rutia." The name went into the room and stayed there. "The little one," Mariana said. "From the lockers." "Yes. She told me I'd still be telling the story when I was 40. She laughed, wet and ruined. "I'm 35. I know." She was right. "Yes," Sebastian said. They came down together at 11:20, and Ricardo stood up from the table with a face already arranging itself into congratulation. "Well," he said. Sebastian picked up the folder. He did not open it. He set it back down on the table with the pen on top, exactly as he had found it. "There's a lien on the Querétaro warehouses dated the 9th of March, he said. "Page 4 is pre-lien. Monday my people would have found it in about 40 minutes. Ricardo's mouth opened. "You? I'm not signing tonight, and I'm not signing Monday, and I want to be clear that it isn't because of anything that did or didn't happen upstairs." He buttoned his jacket. "It's because the numbers are a photograph of a house that already burned." "Mariana." Ricardo turned. "Mariana, what did you tell him?" "I'm leaving you," she said. The room stopped. He crossed to her fast. "You have nothing. You have nothing. Do you understand me? Not the car, not the account, not 1 square meter of this. I renounce all of it." "Say that again." "I renounce all of it." Her voice did not shake. Everyone in that room noticed, including her. "The house, the cards, the dress. You can have the dress tonight. I'll leave it on the stairs." Ricardo raised his hand. He did not get anywhere with it, because Sebastian had stepped between them without hurry and said only, "No," and stood there. And the strange thing, the thing Ricardo would think about for years afterward, was that the younger man never once raised his voice, and never threatened him, and never said another word about it at all. "You loose woman," Ricardo said to her, over the shoulder of a man he could not move. "You cheap." "I won't make deals with you," Sebastian said, "because I don't want a fraud like you anywhere near my life." He held the door for her, and she walked out of that house in silver, with no earrings and no purse, and behind them, the hall clock kept going, as if nothing at all. Cooey had the car door open before they reached the bottom step. He had not asked a single question in 18 years at exactly the right moments. They drove. "I have 400 pesos, Mariana said to the window, in a coat, at the house. "You'll stay at a hotel tonight. The company keeps rooms." "I can't pay for Monday," Sebastian said. "Come to the 11th floor at 9. There's a lawyer named Ordonez, who does the divorces of people who leave with nothing, and he's very good, and he owes me. Bring nothing, sign nothing, and don't answer his calls before you see her." She turned from the window. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you're worth so much." He was watching the road, not her. "He doesn't deserve you as a woman, and I'm going to help you find dignified work. Work you can be proud of. I don't know how to do anything. You'll learn. Everybody learns." "I was 15 and mopping a gym." She put her hand over her mouth and held it there. "Sebastian, in the corridor. What I said. I know what you said. I know," he said. "Don't. It built all of this." In the mirror, the old man's eyes flicked up once, and down again, and he drove. He was in the office at 7 on Monday because he had not really slept, and Cooey was already there, which should have been the first sign. "You're early." "I'm old, I don't sleep. Give me the box." "What box?" "Mijo." Cooey held out his hand, palm up, the way he had held it out for a shoe 18 years earlier. "The box." Sebastian opened the drawer. The resignation letter lay on top of it. He handed over the box and Cooey took it and walked out of the room without another word, and was gone for 50 minutes. At 8:10 the door opened. Elena stood in it with her coat still on and her keys still in her hand, and the small gold chain closed around her throat, and her face doing 4 things at once. "He came to my mother's house," she said. "At 7 in the morning, he sat in my mother's kitchen and drank her coffee and told her I was being an idiot in front of her." Behind her, in the corridor, the old man was studying the ceiling with tremendous interest. "He said you bought it in November," Elena said. "The 14th. November, Sebastian. I was waiting for a Monday. You are the stupidest, brilliant man I have ever." She stopped. She put her hand up to the stone at her throat. "It's small. You'd have hated a big one. I would have hated a big one." Her eyes went over his shoulder to the window and came back. "Say it then. Say it properly, because I have waited 19 years, and I am not accepting it in a hallway." He came around the desk. "I've always known you're the woman I want in my life," he said. "You're the woman I've always wanted. I just didn't have the sense to know it out loud until somebody offered me the other one for free." Elena Rutia laughed, and it broke halfway, and she let it. "You're my man," she said. Out in the corridor, an old janitor with a pension the size of a joke leaned on a doorframe where there had once been a broom and watched a boy he'd given shoes to get everything. He'd known since 2011. He didn't say so, he just went to find the coffee.